Aloha and welcome to episode 36 of That Time I Got Arrested. I love you. And I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm going to Paris. I have been saying all year long, you know, Paris in August, Paris in August, Paris in August. And I had plans, literally, sadly, disappointingly, with two different male romantic partners to go to Paris this summer, and they both fell through pretty spectacularly in their own individual ways. But I'm going by myself, and I'm going on my version of like an Eat, Pray, Love sort of soul searching, mending / replenishing experience. And I just want you to know that I'm not taking any time off of the show. I'm just taking some time off with my heart. And I love you guys so much. And I'm so grateful that you're all here and that there's a bunch of new people to sort of like welcome into the fold of this podcasting experience. And I wanted to take your newfound interest and, you know, trust in me and sort of, you know, steer you in the right direction. I'm a part of a network in Chicago called Jazz Buzz, and they run a bunch of podcasts. And really, I just can't say enough wonderful things about Jazz Buzz in general, but I really wanted to send you down the road to some good recommendations. First on the list is Deanna Ortiz has a podcast called Crushes! It's very exciting, and I look forward to being a guest on her show someday. Mary Kate Beck has a podcast called Travel Disasters that I also was recently a guest on, and I'm a huge fan of. She is just like a wonderful beam of light, and I would love it if you guys could, you know, support me by supporting her, as well as our very good friend, Mike O'Keefe. You've heard me talk about him a bunch. You can listen to my episode on his show called Buddy of the Groom. All of these podcasts are the same place you can find mine: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all those fucking places. You guys know how this shit works. I don't really need to explain anything to you, but I love you, and I'd love it if you could just go online and, you know, show your support. I love you. Say it back. You know, it's very simple. Say it back by leaving me a review on iTunes, you know, giving us 5 stars, following me on Instagram, bcasper, or That Time I Got Arrested. I'm really trying to create some meaningful content for you specifically so that you will, you know, stay engaged in a part of this like experience where I'm just like sharing my heart with you. And, you know, my goal ultimately, eventually, is to hear back from like every single one of you. Every message that I get is like a treasure that I keep inside the deepest part of my heart. And I just want you to know that I'm taking you to Paris with me. You know, I'm not taking any time off the show, but I am taking you on this fucking epic journey of self-discovery. How much more cliche can I get in like 1 3-minute diatribe? I don't know, but I love you. I love you so much. I love you online, and I love you in real life. So check out this episode where I really just talk about driving a whole bunch. Do you like to drive? How does that make you feel? And what do you do when you're at your most fucked up? You know? What does that feel like? What does that look like? I'm going to paint you a picture with my words, and I just hope it looks beautiful to you. I hope that we're building something really beautiful together, and I hope that you know like what a huge part of this you are, whoever you are specifically. You're a huge part of this. I love you. Say it back. My name is B. Casper, and my entire life has been a lie. That's not even my real name. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you all of my secrets. This isn't the story of how I became an orphan. This isn't the story about how I jumped off a 5-story building and survived. This isn't about how I died and came back funny. This is That Time I Got Arrested. You put it wherever you want. I don't really give a fuck. I don't care. I don't want to edit.
Tell me about what happened.
Okay. Are you recording?
We're always recording.
All right. So as you know, you were here. You saw it all unfold in front of your fucking face. I came in on my birthday, unplanned, to record a new intro for the next episode, which had been delayed for several weeks because of various reasons. However, I had, like a little surge online. So I came in to record this new intro to like talk to everyone and say, what's up? I was here and we drank champagne, and my friend came with his motorcycle and he was like, let's go to dinner. So we went to my favorite restaurant, we had dinner, and then afterwards I went and picked up some beer, and then my friend in the motorcycle dropped me off at a boy's house. This boy that I had been like talking to all summer, basically. He had found me on Instagram through friends of friends, not someone I had ever met in real life before. And he had been messaging me since like February, like commenting on my posts and stories and, just like liking all my shit and really being like, hey, I'm into whatever the fuck you're about, which is like this sad girl shit. So it's like, you want to cry together? Okay, let's hang out. That's like my brand or whatever, barf. So we talked for like a whole month and a half while I was away for the summer. I was in California. He was in Illinois. I was in treatment. He was in therapy. Like we like literally just talked every day, all day long about, our lives and our hopes and our dreams and like who we were as people. And we really like unpacked all of our issues together. And that was sort of like this mutual bond and understanding that we had. And I really felt like seen and like sort of like accepted by this person that I had never met before. And then my grandmother got sick and I ended up, seeing him sooner than we had planned. Like we had made a date for September. We were going to like meet up and get cupcakes and like hang out for the first time. But we saw each other a little bit sooner than we had planned. And, one of the days that I saw him was like after I came here to record on my birthday. And I went over to his house and it was very late and we drank beer and hooked up and went to sleep. And in the middle of the night, his girlfriend, who had keys to his apartment, showed up at like 4 a.m. and she was crying and yelling and saying, I can't believe you did this again. And I'm like, gathering my knickers on the floor like a fucking prostitute. And I end up walking around Lincoln Park for like an hour and a half until a Starbucks opens. And then I go into a Starbucks at 6 a.m. and like drink matcha and wait until the first train back into the suburbs runs and get to the train at like 8 a.m. and then take the train all the way back to the suburbs and then go home. And then after that, I get up and go to my grandmother's wake. So really fun birthday. And also when I got home, I had a bouquet of roses waiting for me with a really beautiful little love note from the boy whose girlfriend woke me up in the middle of the fucking morning. What is life anyways, I mean, like, honestly, if I'm being really truthful, in my experience, I have gotten like every bouquet of flowers that I've ever received from a boy has lasted longer than the relationship. You know what I mean? It's like usually if I'm at a point where a guy is like sending me or bringing me flowers, I'm like, it's over. I've never had a guy like bring me flowers like just like to be nice. It's like usually because it's like they fucked up and you know what I mean? Like things are terrible and like it's basically over and I can look at those flowers longer than I can look at your fucking face. Oh my God. And I don't want to tell you this story, but I just got really high with my producer and I haven't had a lot to eat for dinner and I've had a couple of beers and like he was like, this needs to go into the podcast. And so I wish I wasn't telling you all of this stuff because it's embarrassing. You know, I really think about this, like, what does this say about me ultimately? Like, what kind of energy am I attracting into my life that I've like found yet another like deceitful person to like exchange, romantic intentions with? Fuck. I don't even know where to begin. I'm like a tenured professor in falling apart. I've done it so many times in so many different ways, in so many different points in my life that I'm like a phoenix, I'm just living out one decade to another to the point where I'm completely combusting into fire and ash and then being reborn into a new little baby bird. So, fuck, I don't even know what this episode is about. I mean, it's really just about me explaining how I got from point A to point B, I was living at my grandparents' house. I was working. I was doing a lot of drugs and engaging in a lot of risky behavior. I got kicked out, and now I'm living at my cousin's house in the middle of nowhere. And my cousin and I are best friends for our whole entire life. We're only about 2 months apart. And everyone in my family was sort of born in twos, like we all had a buddy that was a few months or a few years apart from you in age that you were sort of stuck with in all of our family functions and vacations and experiences that we did together. And my grandparents were really good about that. They sent us to see the Rockettes in limos every Christmas, and they sent us to Disneyland and gave us like Disney cash every year. And they took us on vacations, and they made us have sleepovers, and they really wanted us to have like a enriched and happy childhood. And it's like funny because I never realized like how much hard work that they put into us having fun and like having, sort of this like youthful happy experience until I was much, much older, because it was just like normal to me then. I just like sort of grew up in this environment where it's like everything is good and let's have a good time. We have like money and access and resources. And now flash forward to me being in my mid-20s, and I'm an ex-con, an ex-felon, and I am living in my cousin's, like child's room over the summer while they're, her kids are at their dad's. And I'm driving an hour and a half to work my waitressing job every single day. And I'm doing a lot of drugs. And you know how I've talked about how I'm like not a drug addict. And I say that confidently because I, first of all, don't believe in addiction. You know what I mean? I think that you can act like in a way that is addictive behavior, but I think addiction is really just like a masked term that they've used for like lack of connection. You know what I mean? Like lack of being tethered to something tangible in this world that gives you like meaning and purpose and value. And when you don't feel that way, you're basically just on a fucking nosedive into oblivion. And so it's like you can go in and out of addictive behavior without actually ever being an addict. So like I am not an addict because there's a stopping point that I have. I have this ability to like control my consumption. So it's like I don't ever do more than like I fucking feel like, you know what I mean? And if I get to a point where I've done too much, it's very, very easy for me to stop. So I'm not an addict, but at this moment in my life, fucking fight me on it. I don't care. I'm so happy to engage with all of you online. At this point in my life, I'm really just acting like a drug addict. Forgive me, I've been through a lot. So I am doing drugs every single day from morning until night. And I'm living this lifestyle where it's like I'm driving an hour and a half to work each way. I'm working a night job, you know what I mean? I'm a cocktail waitress and like I'm nannying here and there, but I haven't really like fully transitioned out of like the nightlife part of my life. So I'm up until 3, 4, 5 in the morning every single day, and I'm doing a lot of drugs, and I'm having a lot of anonymous sex, and I don't know when to say when at this point. It's like I can stop, but I don't think I've like reached this point where I want to stop doing anything that I'm doing. I want to like feel good, so I want to have all of this like weird sex, and I want to not remember what just happened to me. I want to forget that I was like this prisoner and I was this person and I was this slave and I was like this fucking toy for the last year of my life, And it's like this parole officer is like a monthly constant reminder that like as much out, quote unquote, of prison that I'm not really like out of that world or that life. And I'm still, have this like price tag on my body. And I am this person that is only like a sum of how they excite, the man closest in power to them. And like, that's such like a hard juxtaposition to understand at any age. But when you're sort of in your, early to mid 20s and you're like drop kicked into the middle of this, when like my whole life, as much as I've been like sexualized and abused, it's like I'm still coming from a place of like such superior privilege to every other person who's also experiencing the same thing. It's like I know that, but I can't really do anything about it yet because I'm still so fucking traumatized and like fucked up over everything. I mean, how could you not be? Like, how am I even fucking standing? I'm like looking back on this person and fuck, I want to like hug her. I want to tell her that I'm sorry. I want to tell her that it's going to get so much worse. And like, you should really slow down and relax. I wish I could tell her all of those things, but I don't do any of that. I'm just like getting worse and worse and going deeper and deeper to this like addictive, really sort of falling apart. I'm like burning myself alive minute by minute, day by day. And it's so scary. And it's like, man, I like look back and I'm really grateful that my coping mechanisms have been able to like change over the years. Cause I've had a tough year, but like I did not set myself on fire the same way I did at this point in my life. We're like back in time now, I'm not the same person then as I am today. And it's like, wow, I'm almost like grateful to be sitting here and like reliving this with all of you because I can say that I've really grown a lot from like who I was then. When I got out of prison, that first year of getting out after prison, like I was not myself. I wasn't anyone. You know what I mean? I wasn't the person I am now, but like I wasn't anyone good, not someone you would have wanted to associate. Fucking Jesus Christ. I can't believe Hannah stayed friends with me through all of this. Like, Hannah and I aren't talking anymore right now. Like she recently got like pretty pissed off at me and was like, bye, bitch. And as much as that hurts, it like really almost doesn't at the same time. It's like, it's kind of like you grow and you accept like the growth of other people sometimes going in different directions as you. And the thing is, it's like at that point, like I really needed someone to like love me unconditionally. And she was really like that person for me. And I hope if you're going through anything rough or if you've ever been through anything rough, that you have someone in your life like that you have someone that will love you forever. No matter what, even if Hannah's not my friend right now, like I love her forever, no matter what. Like, and I know that like deep down she feels the same way. So after a certain point, I just got so sloppy, like so fucking sloppy in my behavior, in my lifestyle choices and practices. I'm not fucking making smoothies every day anymore. There's no green juice and like, 120 minutes of exercise and like yoga and stretching. Like, nah, bitch. Like, no. I mean, I guess it's like obvious that I've been leading up to this point, but let me just like lay out what my best friends look like. It was ketamine and Molly and opiates and any kind of hallucinogenic and alcohol and especially weed. I mean, like, I know that the only thing I'll really cop to being addicted to is weed, but it's at the point where it's like so unhealthy. It's like you're waking up every day and, smoking weed until you're like blind. And then you're going through the day, like continuing on this regimen where you're just sort of perpetually high. Like you're not even getting high anymore. You're just like engaging in this behavior where you are smoking a drug, a plant, like, And it's like a ritual at this point. This whole time, my parole officer is like flirting with me and texting me at 9 p.m. on a fucking Wednesday saying, WYD question mark. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not taking any drug test. I'm not being held accountable for my behavior. And that's why I was in such a hard spiral, is because like it all boiled down to like this guy wanted to fuck me. And like because he wanted to fuck me, I got away with whatever I wanted to do. And I was also like playing him so that I could continuously like engage in all of this like risky, fucked up behavior so that I could just, you know, do what I wanted. He was just like a tool and like a toy to me, but so was I to him. You know, it was like a mutual relationship as long as I like texted him back like, nothing, HBU, you know? It's like, then, I mean, it takes so little. Men are so stupid and easy, you know, to manipulate. And like, I just happen to be smarter than him, but it's like all of these situations are really just like a little tiny peek. You're like staring through a keyhole at this like world of corruption that's designed to oppress women who are, you know what I mean? Like minorities and in the edge of society. Like they're underneath the poverty line, like so much so that they are crushed by it. And they are the ones that are being taken advantage of, like the worst. And I was just like basically playing him so I could get high. My favorite part about being a girl is being underestimated in my intelligence and my ability to like, you know, understand what's going on and like my wherewithal. That's my favorite thing about being a girl. And what my parole officer didn't understand for a whole like 11 months of, you know, back and forth was that I was just playing him. You know, like he thought he was playing me because he was trying to get in my pants, but I was really playing him on the fact that he was trying to get in my pants, and I was like exploiting that to my deepest advantage. You know, I didn't know when or how I was going to have to use that, you know, in my favor, but I knew that it was going to come up eventually. I had learned enough at this point about like the male-female dynamics in the, you know, prison system. So I knew that eventually, you know, I had enough access and I had enough resources and I had enough like lack of pigment in my skin tone to be able to like use his lecherous advances against him. Like I knew that that's what was going to it all like come to eventually. But I didn't know when and I didn't know how. I just like knew it. I knew I was coming. And so even though I was like on this downward spiral into hell, like I still had a fucking mini parachute on my back, you know? And that parachute was just exploiting the corruption that I had witnessed. Isn't that fucked up? Isn't that so fucked up? Oh my God, fuck. So before I really detonate, before I like turn off this bomb, I go to my last music festival. To this day, it's the last music festival I ever went to. What? Electric Forest? Yeah. What? Yeah. No. I mean, I went to Electric Forest. It was the last music festival I was ever going to go to. I didn't know that at the point, but while I was there, I was just like treating it like I was at Costco, you know? I was like, here are all the people that have all the things that I need to buy in bulk right now so that I have an excess when I'm not here anymore, you know, and I like want all the things that you guys have. This is just fucking smart business practices. I bought a lot of DMT, bought a lot of acid, bought a lot of Molly, bought a lot of pills, bought a lot of ketamine, bought a lot of nitrous. Couldn't take that with me. That's okay. Had a good time while it happened. Oh my God, I love nitrous so much. Shout out to my nitrous mafia. Miss you guys. Where are you at? I kind of like went through these last couple of months in like a blur. It was like I was really just existing from point A to point B. You know, point A was like wake up, you know, by 2 in the afternoon and get dressed and showered and masturbate and then get high. and go to work, drive an hour and a half, get to work by 6 every day, and then work all night, and then just like rinse and repeat. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. Like, I think about like the life of a migrant worker very often in my life in this like moment in time, because I eat a lot of like fresh food and I try and eat a lot of like fruits and vegetables. And every time I go to the grocery store and I like pick something up out of the grocery store, I try and like think about all of the work that it took to get from, the point of like cultivation and growth to like my hands to like my mouth and like my body. And that's like part of like the communion that I take with food in my life. But at this point in my life, like back then, it's like I'm the worker. You know what I mean? I'm the one who's like cultivating like that process of like nourishment for somebody else. And I'm not even really like a person. I'm just like a cog in a machine. I'm just like basically like a drone, basically like it's the Matrix, and I am a human battery. That's like all that I'm existing for at this point, and it's like I have all of these like these goals, these like endpoints. It's like until I'm off of parole, until I can like petition for a pardon from my sentence, until I can like, save up enough money to like get my own place. It's like I have all these like markers for success, but getting from that point without really understanding like the healing that I have to do, or without understanding like, who I am anymore, or like what I'm fucking doing on this planet, in this like meat skeleton that is really starting to like fuck with me and make me act fucked up, I was fucked up, but I was white and I had money and I had, even at this point, it's like when most people would engage in all this kind of risky behavior after they've gotten out of prison, what happens is they reoffend and they sort of get put back into the system that oppresses them and that makes them feel this way, like this disconnect, this like sense of oblivion, this feeling like you want to just like erase everything that's inside your head and your heart and your mind and like your existence. It's like you don't want to be a person anymore. It's like that's why people do drugs. You know what I mean? That's why people are real like deep, hard drug addicts. It's because they can't survive their own reality and existence anymore. So you like, slowly and sort of carefully like dive into oblivion, like whatever path you take. Like oblivion could be fast food for you. You know what I mean? Like, do you eat yourself to death? Have you ever done that before? Have you ever been so sad that you just like stuffed your face with like the most chemical laden like garbage that's going to make you feel like sick, or just drank so many beers that you know what I mean, completely like lose your sense of like vertigo and reality. You know what I mean? Like how hard have you ever taken yourself down and like out of the game that your existence is based upon? So I was driving a bunch. How many times do I have to tell you that? That's all I remember. I can't even tell you about any other part of this aspect of my life. That drive was honestly like beautiful. And the reason I have such vivid memories of it is because it was like the same road for an hour and a half, basically. And I would listen to podcasts. I really got into podcasts at that like point in my life. Listen to Joe Rogan for the first time, listen to like, a bunch of different stuff that I didn't even know was like real. And also I would have these like really long conversations with my best friend from boarding school. Her name's Tatiana. And she was like a frenemy my whole life. And then she was like the person, outside of Hannah. I never even really told her like all of the really dark stuff, but she was like the person that I could talk to about prison. She was like the person that I could talk to about like feeling unhealthy versus wanting to feel healthy. We could talk about boys and juice cleanses and music and art, and we had the best conversations. And like, even though I fucking hated her sometimes, it was like I would call her and have like 3-hour-long conversations with her every single day, 4 or 5 days a week. And it was like comforting to like spend so long around all these prisoners who had nothing in common with me and had no way to connect with me on like an intellectual or like personal level, into having like basically like my twin who I could have these long, epically long conversations with about anything and everything. And just like, it was therapy. You know what I mean? Like those drives were therapy in between me getting like really, really high and trying to like absolve into oblivion. And I'm really grateful like for her in particular, but also for like, I'm grateful for those drives. I'm grateful for that like meditative experience. I'm grateful for that space, that I had a car, that I had a job, that I even had the opportunity to drive an hour and a half every single day back and forth to and from work, just so I could like go to Whole Foods and like buy a croissant. And kombucha. It's fucked up. I mean, I'm so genuine when I say that, though. It's like I was really grateful for that experience, and like those long drives. I'm like making it sound like it was bad, but it wasn't bad. That was like meaningful to me. It was like the only reason that I probably didn't OD within those 4 months. But I was getting close. I was doing so many drugs. I was getting so fucked up every single day. Part of my mental illness is my ability to disassociate. And so I'm not only like high and driving all of the time, I'm like getting high while I'm driving. So like I'm really doing like the worst, most reckless, careless, fucked up bullshit that I could ever be on. And this like ultimately leads me to my demise. So like save your breath, like I know how the story ends, idiot. Just kidding. I love you. I am driving dirty every day. I'm driving while I'm getting high. I'm smoking weed to and from like work in that hour and a half in the car. I've got all of my drugs on me because I don't want to like leave them at my cousin's house for whatever reason. I mean, she has kids, but like also I just like, you never know when you're going to like need your doses, like sometimes those opportunities come upon you and you're like, let's get high. And you're like, yes, I have acid, let's go. But like, I couldn't let go of that part of my personality. I couldn't like grow up and grow past it. I really had to be like, no, I went down for this. Like, this is who I am. This is my identity. So like, I will have these drugs on me all of the time, forever, because fuck the police. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, oh, now I'm like a changed man and I'm coming out of the clink like... Sorry, I just heard myself. It's not like I'm coming out of the clink being like, yeah, rehabilitation for all is effective. Like, no, it's not. It's the complete opposite. If anything, I'm more rebellious. If anything, I'm like definitely more set in my ways and more committed to being like this person who has autonomy over their own body and their own experiences. So like, am I going to do acid whenever the fuck I feel like it? Yes. Like even more so. Yes. And like, I know I've gotten a lot of shit for this online recently. People are like, you idiot. Like, yes, you fucking idiot. Yes, I know. But like when you're committed to being an idiot, that's just who you are. That was my MO. Idiot City, man. Idiot Central. I was the team captain of the idiots, and I was just driving and getting high and driving dirty and waiting for the next catastrophe to literally set myself on fire with. I was just like looking for kindling left and right. I'm just like a hiker in the woods and it's getting dark and I want to start a fire. And the fire is my fucking life. I don't have a boyfriend at this point in my life. I don't have like a consistent sex partner. I don't have a friend group. I'm so disconnected from my like family and my anything else that defined me as a person other than like this downward spiral, sloppy, dirty mess. It was long and it was daily and it was like multiple times a day. I would also do this like really fucking stupid, crazy thing. This is just like part of my own wild insecurity, is that I would wait tables with all of these kids who were like younger than me and who had no idea about anything that I had just been through. I was just basically pretending to be one of them. And I was so like lonely and like desperate for attention and like human connection. And I was so high all the time that I would literally like wait. I would get cut and I would wait at work so I could drive like 4 or 5 people home. And then I would drive an hour and a half home every day just because I couldn't be alone. You know what I mean? It's like I had to be so exhausted by the time I got home that I would just completely pass out. I couldn't like have a minute where I wasn't, being distracted by everything outside of myself, outside of my heart and my head and like my memories. And I didn't even really, I didn't have an Instagram at this point. Like I didn't really care about Facebook. Like I didn't have all of these like things that I could escape into. Like nowadays, like I can really easily escape into my Instagram. I can really easily escape like into the games on my fucking cell phone. But like then it's like I didn't have any of these, coping mechanisms. It was just more like, what's right in front of me. And it was either like drugs or people. So I would just like drive all these kids home and they'd be like, wow, you are the nicest person ever for driving us home. And I'm like, I am dying inside. I'm so lonely. I want to die. Please don't leave. Let's say goodbye for 20 minutes. I was such a hot mess. And it's like, no one even knew like how messy I was on the inside, and I was pretty messy on the outside, but like no one really knew like how fucked and like sad and like dark it was inside my heart. I think a lot of people are like that even now, like you don't know how dark someone's life is. Like you don't know how like deep into their own neuroses and like psychosis that they're already in. It's very, very hard to see underneath that mask, even if you know someone very well. My friends who thought that they knew me inside and out had no idea that any of this was going on. Like, didn't know that I had just gotten out of jail, first and foremost. Like, that's huge. But then also, like, had no idea what I had just recently been through and had no idea, like, what I was coping with and had no idea about my excessive drug use. So, really just didn't know anything about me. And then, like, had 4 to 6 people who would be like, she's my best friend. She's my best friend. She is my best fucking friend. And I love her. But like had no idea. You don't know me at all. I ran out of gas 6 times. I ran out of gas 6 times. It's 7 months. Like literally ran out of gas on the side of the road 6 times in 7 months. Not because I didn't have money. Not because I didn't have time. Just because I was like, let's see how far it'll go. Let's see how far I can make it. And just that mentality of like, I'm going to run this shit to the ground. One time I ran out of gas on the side of the highway at 4 a.m. and I had to walk 6 miles to the next gas station. I had to literally walk 6 miles at 4 a.m. to a gas station that was open to get gas. And then I just I think I took a taxi or something back and put the gas in my car. One time I was driving home from work and it was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. It was the middle of February. It was snowing. There was 3 feet of snow on the ground. And I ran out of gas on the side of the road. And it was pretty far away from work and from home. And a truck full of Mexicans stopped next to me, like a work utility truck. They were obviously going to plow snow or I don't know. They were going to do some kind of work very early in the morning, stopped, and they had a gas canister that was full of gas. And I literally my car stopped. It was fucking freezing. I was nowhere near a gas station. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had been sitting there for maybe 20 minutes and I was just contemplating the weight of my own existence. I had no way to solve this problem. And I wasn't even trying. I wasn't sitting on my phone, Googling AAA. I wasn't about to get out and walk to a gas station. I wasn't going to do anything. I was just sitting there waiting to fucking catch hypothermia. I was just like, when is this all going to end, you know? And then within a couple of minutes, this utility truck showed up with a gas canister. They put it in my car and I made it home. I didn't even stop and get gas. I made it all the way home on that. I know. Like, I should have stopped at that point, you know, but I didn't even. I was just like, let's just see. It's a mental illness, by the way. Leave that in. I want everyone to know that I know that I'm mentally ill. I don't want anyone to be confused. I don't want anyone to sit here and like idealize the choices that I've made or think that I'm not self-aware enough to realize that I am a sick person as far as like mental health goes, and like the choices that I made are indicative of someone who is like deeply disturbed. I'm like honestly having a really nice experience reliving all of this right now because it's just reminding me how much better I'm doing now than I was 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. I had to drive to like the worst parts of Chicago, really sketchy neighborhoods. Like if I got pulled over in these neighborhoods, I would immediately get arrested just for being white because they know that the only reason that white people go to these parts of the city is to pick up drugs. And so, yeah, just like, you know, connects that I had met through prison, connects that I had met through James, like connects that I had met through waiting tables, it all kind of like led me to this like one side of the city where you could kind of just like get any pill you wanted. You know, as long as you had enough money, you could get anything you wanted. I could go to a certain gas station and just like pick up oxys, you know, and like I knew that. And so I would make these drives like regularly. I'd worked in a job where I would be making cash every single night. So it's like if I somehow ended up with $300 on the end of like a Saturday night, like I was going to spend Sunday morning on the south side of Chicago picking up pills and then like making that long drive home. So I could just do them in solitude. You know what I mean? I would be snorting oxys in my fucking 11-year-old cousin's bedroom. Yeah. And I would just like masturbate and do oxys off a knife in my, you know, my room. And I would pass out like that and then just get up and crush up some Adderall, snort that, go get a venti latte, and then go back to work. Yeah, fun times, kids. I mean, I had no friends. I had no life. I had no hobbies, no interests, like no passions, nothing, no driving force behind any of my behavior other than like, I don't want to feel anything anymore. One time I went to go pick up some pills from this woman that I had grabbed from maybe like 3 or 4 times. So I knew her a little bit at this point. And like she knew what I wanted. I knew what she wanted. It was very clear cut. And sometimes she, you know, wouldn't have what I needed and she would have to go like pick it up from someone else. But she needed like the money first. And because I had gone with her a couple of times, I felt like safe enough to like just like give her like a couple $100, you know? I knew something was weird like this one night, but I kind of just like didn't care. Like, you know, I was really just like, you get the pills. Like, I don't fucking go like kill a puppy. You know what I mean? Like kidnap a kid, like just get me my drugs. It was really dark. You know, it was really sad. I did not have any sort of like moral and ethical boundary of like what I considered fine anymore. I was just like, get the drugs, here's the money, fucking figure it out, you know? So one time I kind of could tell something was weird and I, you know, drove all the way to her, got in her minivan. I was sitting in the back, she was in the front, and we were driving somewhere sketchy. She drove to a liquor store and went in and bought a bunch of liquor and then like drove to a house, and I was sitting in the back of the car for like a little too long. You know, I started to feel like weird. I'm like mostly thinking like, oh, this bitch fucking robbed me. Like I just, you know, gave you $200. Like, you know, like where are my drugs? You know, I'm just like getting mad. I like don't want to sit in the car anymore. I go into the house And the first thing that I walk up on are a bunch of, middle-aged men in lawn chairs in a completely empty apartment, dark, with nothing. There's like a microwave on a TV tray. And that's really it. That's all there is in the whole house. I mean, it's weird and decrepit, and I'm just like not even thinking like, what am I doing here? I'm thinking, where is this bitch and where are my drugs? The first guy that sees me walk up in there doesn't say anything to me, just immediately pulls up a gun and points it at me and is like, who the fuck are you? What are you doing? Get the fuck out of here. I would love to sort of crowdsource this idea for a moment, if you will. What would you do if you were at the end of your rope, if you were engaging in a lot of addictive behavior, if you had just been through mental and physical torture on a level that you never even imagined possible, and now you're in a scenario that you've completely built all up on your own, and you're in danger, clearly in danger, but also clearly, this is what suicidal behavior looks like, This is what self-destructive behavior looks like. This is what it looks like when you really, you don't have anything to live for, What do you do? Do you just like look at the other end of a gun and blink twice? Do you roll your eyes? Are you scared? Do you shit yourself? Are you thinking of anyone that you love in that moment? When you miss anyone? Like, what are you even afraid of? Like, when there's nothing left of you to feel fear. It's a weird question, This is like a weird episode. And, I name drop the girl of who I'm with. I'm not fazed at all. I'm just staring at this gun thinking like, dude, like you'd be doing me a favor, end it, please, please, please. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. So it's like, you'd think that I'd be scared or shocked or sort of like taken aback. But the only thing I think when this guy pulls a gun on me is like, please end it, please. Please, you'd make my day, So my nonchalant attitude sort of saved my life in that moment, I told him what I was doing and who I was looking for, and he just told me where she was and, to figure it out. So I walked down the hall, and now I'm just like looking for her, hoping that I'm still going to get my drugs at this point. Like, I don't even care about anything else. It's like they can kill me if they want to, but can I please get high first? So I finally find her, and she's high, and I'm like pissed. I'm pissed because I just want my pills, I just like scream at her. And yeah, I don't get exactly like what I'm looking for, but I get enough and I get out. And I leave, and I just like walk down the street in the middle of the night, and I'm like heading towards Union Station so I can like get out of the city, get high. So this whole episode was like a labor of love. It's been pretty difficult to record. I'm going out of town for a little while. Oh my gosh, I know. Are you so sick of hearing me say that? I really love you so much. I would love it even more if you could just do me like the tiniest favor and please, 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 please go on social media. Please, please post about the podcast. First of all, tag That Time I Got Arrested on Instagram. Post on your Instagram, post on your Facebook. You know what I mean? Like message your friends, tell your mom, like do whatever you need to do to share this entire experience with someone that that you feel like would enjoy it or find value in it or just likes the way that my voice sounds or just like likes to help people like follow their dreams, all of this stuff has been really hard and like sucks really bad. But the best part about it is being able to connect with you guys online and being able to not only hear your stories, but like hear that what I'm talking about is like resonating with you, because otherwise I'm just talking into a microphone to no one. And like, isn't that depressing? And like, haven't we been depressed enough during all of this? Haven't we now? So I love you so much. I will bid you adieu, and I will think about you all while I'm in Paris alone. I love you. Bon voyage.